welcome back to the Dark Crystal Podcast. I'm your host, Mikey, and this is my co host.
I'm Andrea.
And in this episode, we are going to do our episode 2 review and recap, the spoiler review. So we'll be doing that after the break. But for now, what I mentioned before we get to that is our Discord server. So before, if you've been listening to the previous episodes, if you search us on Discord, we were the Crystal Shards Discord server. I changed the name. Now I through my research, I found that there was already an established group called Crystal Shards that is also dedicated to the Dark Crystal, and it's a Facebook group, so they're in a separate place than us. But I didn't want there to be any confusion, so somebody came up with that idea already. Great minds think alike, I guess. But yeah, so to avoid confusion, I changed our Discord server name to Gelfling Gathering. So we are the Gelfling Gathering. When if you want to join the community, look that up. Also, if you're following our social medias, Twitter and Instagram, and that stuff, I tweet out, I will send out the invite links there that you can just click on, and it will send you to the server itself. You can find those links up there now at Dark Crystal Cast on Twitter. But I also added some roles to the server. That way, when you join, there's so many different clans of Gelfling. Maybe there's a group of Gelfling that you identify with the most. So either Andrea or I, if you join and identify with one of those Gelfling clans, just let us know and we can assign you that role. So if you're not familiar with Discord, we can assign you a role, and so whenever you show up online, you'll show up online as that role. So you'll be assigned whatever clan that you want to be in, and your name will show up as that color as well of the clan that we assigned all the different clans to, just to make it pop a little bit more. But Andrea will tell you all the different choices you have.
All right, you can choose from Dusen, Trenshin, Groton, Sifa, Sprighton, Stonewood, Vapra, Uru, Skeksis, or Pod People.
All right, so that's all the Gelfling clans that we went through there, but you also get the choice of the Uru, which are the mystics. So if you are, if you identify with those mystics, then you have the choice for Uru. Pod People, that's a great one if you identify with those guys. The Skeksis is a choice too if you identify with those guys. I don't know what I think about you, but maybe you do, but so it is an option. But yeah, guys, we really do want to build a community of cool, positive people that want to talk about the Dark Crystal and about their fandom and just talk about the show in general. Whatever other stuff you might want to talk about, the books, comic books, the video game that's going to be coming out sometime soon. I don't believe we have a release date yet, but if you want to talk about all that stuff with us, that is going to be the place to do it. But we will take our break here. We'll come back after the break, and we will start our episode 2 review of the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance. This is episode Nothing is Simple Anymore. All right, welcome back, guys. Let's get to our review of episode 2, Nothing is Simple Anymore. So we open up this episode to a podling. He's laying there sleeping, and he's just starting to wake up. We see him eating. He spills some food on himself. And then he goes out, and then opens up. This big door opens up, and then we see the orrery, and he goes in there, starts doing chores. You see Agra there laying down. She's sleeping. You see all the planets and moons and suns and stars moving around on the orrery. And then we see Agra wake up in a panic. And yeah, what did you think of this opening here? I thought it was a very beautiful opening. Just to see this podling, he looks like he's been doing this for a long time. He looks exhausted. It looks like it's something he's been doing for years. He's just got that look on his face like, oh, another day of doing the same thing that I do every day that I've been doing for years and years.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, and I thought it was comical how he just like dropped his food on his chest, and he looked down and was like, "Oh gosh," and then he was doing his hair, and how he just switched it up, and thought that was funny.
Yo, yeah, yeah, a lot of good stuff in here that you could tell this guy's really been doing this for a long time. But yeah, so we see Agra wake up in a panic, and through her, they do some dialogue that she's talking to the podling here, and we find out that she's been projecting her mind across the universe. And she realizes that if she's being woke up, that must mean that Thra is in pain. And for me, again, all this stuff is really cool. Again, when I was a kid watching the original Dark Crystal movie, Agra was like my favorite character in there. So to see her here, I think we get to see her close up on that screen when the podling goes over there. It looks like he's like trying to dust her off, and that's when her eye opens and she starts looking around and wakes up. And I'm just like, oh yes, this is awesome. This is it's really nostalgic for me. It's really pushing those nostalgia buttons for me and making me feel good and remember all those good memories I have of watching the movie when I was a kid.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So what did you think though? I mean, of this scene, like, I mean, did you think it looked good or?
No, I thought it looked beautiful, and the way they did it, it was amazing. I mean, the coughing up dust thing, you could tell how long she's been sleeping that she coughed up all that dust.
Oh right, yeah, that's a good point too because she does. This is the scene here, right, where she's talking about how long has she been gone, and then she finds out, oh, she tells Puddling, oh, I remember when you were young. It was the last time I saw you, and he's like, no, that was my grandfather.
Yeah,
So
that was funny.
yeah, so yeah, apparently she's been, projecting her mind, sleeping there in the same spot for a very long time. But the next scene we see Deet. She's just traveling through the forest, and we see her encounter some of the animals of the forest there, and we just see the fact that she's not used to being all these seeing these animals, because she usually gets along with animals very well, where she was from in the Groton Caves, but up above ground, she's not having as easy a time of connecting with these animals. So, what do you think from the first scene here that we see from Deet in this episode?
Yeah, she definitely was having a hard time connecting with the animals, but she also did connect with one of the animals for a bit there. What was like? It's called a Fizzygig or something.
Fizzgig.
Fizzgig.
Yeah, yeah. There for a moment. She is connecting with one of them for a little bit before he runs off with one of the other ones. But then we go back to the Castle of Crystal, and this is where we see that the Skeksis are telling the guards to search for Rian and to guard all the exits. And then we see the Chamberlain go back to the throne room, and he tells the Emperor, it's going to be okay if the guards are going to question why we are searching for Rian and why Mira is missing. We have a simple answer because nobody knows what happened, and we can just say the reason why we need to stop Rian is because he killed Mira. And the Emperor likes this idea. And yeah, just here we see more of the ways that the Chamberlain is a master manipulator. I mean, I think of recent shows like Game of Thrones where we had Littlefinger, and I'm like, Chamberlain. Yeah, I think he's got one up on him. Even this guy he's constantly thinking, many steps ahead of anybody else in the show.
I feel the same way, and usually it goes to his plan too, so it's surprising.
Yeah. That's why I said he's a master planner. Then we see the Emperor. Oh, there's our little one, Lucas. You might hear him in the background again of this episode again. He'll be giving his review as well, letting you know with all his cooing and sneezes every once in a while. But yes, we see the Emperor. He wants more essence, but the scientist says there is no more. That's all. That's the only essences left is he put it away because he needs it for studying. That the machine is broken and he can't make more right now. So the emperor demands that he fixes it and makes more now. So now the scientist has to go off and figure out how to make more. And you could tell here in this scene, I really noticed that the emperor, the little bit of the essence they got, it wasn't enough. The emperor felt good, like it made him feel good, but he's already back to feeling weak, so he wants more. He needs it so he can feel powerful. Let's see here. Next thing we see is Gershon. He's encountered by a couple other Gelfling guards, and this is how Gershon finds out that Rian is being blamed for Mira being missing and her murder. But we also see here in this little interaction here that the Chamberlain's plan is already going according to plan. He's already planted the seed of saying, hey, you know what, this Rian guy, he's a bad guy, he murdered Mira. And you already see the Gelfling, their prejudice coming out now. Instead of these Gelfling, I don't know what clan they're from, but instead of addressing Gershon as Gershon, they're like, hey, Drenchen, calling him out by his race rather than his name when they know his name. He even says in the scene, you guys know my name, why are you calling me Drenchen? So already we see the plan going well for the Chamberlain. So yeah, what did you think of this? What was your reaction to that?
Oh gosh, I thought that that was pretty much what's happening. That the plan, everything was going as planned, and it was also getting a little bit like kind of scary because these Gelfling are turning on their own, kind of like their own kind.
Yeah, so
just over a rumor.
Yeah, exactly. So they're very, the situation of the power that the Skeksis have. They are, readily willing to, blame one of their own because the Skeksis say to without questioning, without actually searching out the answers for themselves. They're ready to turn on them. But the next thing we see here is that those guards go away, and then Rian, he comes out of the shadows. He grabs Gershon, and Gershon telling him like, Rian, what's going on? The Skeksis say that you murdered Mira, and Rian's like, no, that is definitely not what happened. So they dream fast, and this is before the Skeksis. Later on in the episode, you're gonna find out that they don't want people to dream fast with Rian, and this is why, because Rian dream fast with Gershon, and he shows Gershon what the Skeksis have done, and the fact that they are the ones that stole Mira's essence and murdered her. And Gershon, he sees the truth, and Rian says he needs to escape. He needs to find a way to let everybody know the truth. And Gershon says, all right, I'm going to help you. I'll help you escape. And that's what we get out of that scene. So for me, just seeing this scene here, I'm like, okay, see, if people are willing, like Gershon is here, he's willing to hear out the other side, to see, what the truth might be. And because he's willing to hear it, he finds out what the actual truth is.
It also shows how, devoted as friends, how they are devoted as friends. So
yeah, definitely.
Pretty cool.
The next scene we see, we have Deet. She is asleep in the forest, and we see a spitter crawling around, and it wakes her up and starts chasing her. She's cornered. She has her blindfold fall off of her eyes, so she has a hard time seeing. And because of the sun, her eyes have not fully adjusted to being above ground yet. So she is, she's cornered. And just in the nick of time, we see a podling come to her rescue. The podling gets all tangled up in the spitter's webs. It's kind of they have like spider webs because well they look like spiders, and Deet swings the podling at the spitter, and they knock the spitter over and it runs away. And then, so after that, this is the meeting of Deet and Hup. It is revealed that this podling's name is Hup, and he wants to be a paladin. And then, in fact, he is traveling to go see the Almadra at the capital so that he can become the first podling paladin. And because they both have similar goals, they're both trying to go see the Almadra. You know, Hup wants to become a paladin, and Deet needs to go see the Almadra to tell her about this blight and the darkening that is happening. They decide to travel together. For me, I thought this was a really cool, fun scene. Obviously, it starts out very scary because the spitter is attacking Deet, but then the way they fight the spitter and defeat the spitter is very funny. And you know, the Hup yells out "Podling Justista." You know, when he's getting swung at and being used as a weapon himself to defeat the spitter, and then just the Hup character in general. Just from this first meeting, I'm already a big fan of him.
Yeah, I feel like the podlings are used to kind of lighten up the moment, and also that because you know how Deet was doing this all on her own and she wasn't familiar with her environment, that having Hup there with her, that now she doesn't have to do this mission alone and she can have like some insight from Hup.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you know, he's got that trusty spoon of his for his sword, so
He can defend her.
yeah, he'll be able to defend her with his trusty spoon. That's another thing that I love about Hup. He's got that wooden spoon for his sword. So the next thing we see is we are back at the library now in Harar, and we see Brea. She is still looking for answers. She's in the library studying, but she can't find anything about the symbol. And the librarian mentions the Sifa clan, and that they would know stuff about visions and symbols. And he doesn't mean for this to be a suggestion for Brea, but she takes it as a suggestion, and she's like, "Oh yes, you're right. The Sifa would know a lot about symbols, so I should go see them." And then we move on to a scene where we see Brea. She is meeting with one of the Sifa, Elder Kadia. He is a soothsayer, and Elder Kadia says that the answers she's looking for are in the dream space, and he tells her that the dream space is what allows Gelflings to dream fast, and it is what connects them to Thra. And yeah, so this is where we get to meet Elder Kadia, and the first we see of the Sifa clan. What did you think of them? I really like this. So it's Eddie Izzard who is voicing Elder Kadia here, and I just, the way he's voicing him, I think it's like perfect for this character.
Yeah, when I first saw them, I thought that they were, thinking of didn't really think that they would, I guess, look like that, or they would just mean like a little hut type thing too. But I thought the whole introduction and stuff was pretty interesting, and it caught me.
Okay. Well, the next thing we see is Elder Kadia. He tells Annika to get them some drinks, and she brings over some drinks and a powder, and we see Elder Kadia put a powder in one of the drinks but not the other, and it's called Null Root. And then Brea's like, "Oh, you know what? Sifa don't do anything without payment, so let me give you your payment." She drops it on the table, and a whole bunch spills out and spills all over the floor. And then Elder Kadia bends over to pick it up. Brea knows something is up here, so she switches the drinks. And when Elder Kadia and Annika, his assistant, are done picking up the payment, he says, "Drink up," so they drink up. Brea drinks the one that hasn't been has the stuff put in it, and Elder Kadia ends up drinking the one that he put the powder in. And then Brea says, "Why are you trying to make me forget? I know that Null Root makes you forget." And so she tricked him. She got him to drink the powder that makes you forget, and she uses this to trick him to give her the answers that she's seeking. And he says he wants her to forget the symbol because when he looks at it, he sees the end of all things. And this is where Breya reveals that she switched the drinks. Elder Kadia now realizes it. He becomes angry. He grabs her. Breya tells her to let go, and then he doesn't. So Annika comes over and hits him over the head with a pan, and then she tells Breya, Elder Kadia, he sees the end of things when he looks at this symbol, but I see a chance for a new beginning, and that's why I want to help you. So she tells Breya to bring the brightest jewel from her mother's chamber and bring it back tomorrow to get answers. What did you think of this whole interaction here?
It was intense, I thought. I mean, the whole, I don't know, it's kind of like watching a game play out kind of thing for me. Just with her switching the drinks on them and how she distracted them with money and then not really realizing his memory. He would lose his memory. So.
Right, yeah. She didn't realize that he would lose it to the extent that he's going to lose his memory.
Right.
Which we're going to see. At the end of this exchange, we come to realize that Elder Kadia, his memory is totally wiped. He doesn't even really remember who he is for sure.
Right. Which makes me wonder why he would give her that much in the first place to try to wipe her memory completely.
Yeah, I don't know. But it does make for a funny interaction. And yeah, for me, yeah, I like this whole thing again because I'm a big fan of Breya because, again, she's constantly searching for answers. And I like, even though people are constantly trying to stop her from getting those answers, she still seeks them out. And I'm glad that Annika is there to help her so that she can further her pursuit in getting those answers.
It was also a fellow lady.
Yes, another lady, which is also a bonus. Another lady is empowering her. All right, but now we go back to the Castle of Crystal, and we see Rian realizing that he needs to get the essence of Mira to the rest of the Gelflings to prove what the Skeksis did, because if he dies, he's only the one that can dream fast and share his memories. Gurchin is not going to be able to share his memories. So the Skeksis plan at that point would work. If Rian dies, then the truth dies with him. So it's very important that he gets out there so he can potentially dream fast with other Gelfling to show them the bottle of essence for proof as well of what has happened. So they go to the crystal chamber, and Rian says that they have to climb down, and we see them. We move down to the lab where the scientist is there. We see him locking up the essence, and we see Rian and Gurchin climbing down. They reach the lab, but they can't get the essence because it's all locked up. And we see the Chamberlain come in, and they hear him coming, so they have to hide. And then here, at this point, I'm very nervous. I'm very scared for Rian and Gurchin because they are deep inside of the Skeksis lair. So this is a tough spot to be trapped in.
I thought the same too, and as I mentioned to you while we were watching it, the score, it was pretty intense. So it kind of played on those emotions of being scared. It was kind of like something out of a horror movie almost.
Oh, definitely. That's actually a perfect comparison, because there's a lot of scenes in the movie and throughout this series that definitely make you feel like you are in the middle of watching a horror film. So yeah, we see the Chamberlain. He comes into the room, and as we said, the scientist put the bottle in this safe and use this lock snake to lock it up, but the Chamberlain puts the lock snake to sleep by hypnotizing it, and then he eats the lock snake and takes the bottle for himself. Just at this point, the scientist comes back, and they have a little scuffle. The scientist is wondering what the Chamberlain's doing there, and Chamberlain's just like, oh, the Emperor sent me to come check up on you and see how things are going. And just when the Chamberlain is about to leave, the scientist smells Gelfling, so they start searching around. And at this point, the scientist realizes that the essence is missing from his little safe, and then he realizes the Chamberlain is the one who took it, because he could see that the Chamberlain has a lock snake stuck in his teeth. So they have a little scuffle here. It is revealed that the Chamberlain does indeed have the bottle, and so they have a little fight here. And when the Chamberlain drops the bottle, Rian and Gurchin run out, and they grab the bottle and they run so that they can try to escape. And at this point, like you said, like I'm feeling like very nervous. It's feeling very suspenseful. They are in pursuit by these, because the Gelflings are a lot smaller compared to the Skeksis. So I'm pretty scared for them. How are you feeling at this point?
I was feeling pretty scared for them too, just because the Skeksis in general are just scary things to look at, and just by their mannerisms, they're pretty creepy. So.
Oh, for sure. So at this point, they're running through the castle trying to find a way to escape, but the Skeksis are able to corner them, and the Chamberlain is able to grab hold of Gurchin. Rian is here. He's stuck in between two Skeksis. One of them has his friend, and he has to figure out what to do. Luckily for him, Gurchin is willing to kind of sacrifice himself, so he stabs this Chamberlain, and this is enough to allow Rian to run down the hallway. He jumps over the side of the castle, and he falls in this river, and he's able to get away. So for this, I was thinking, wow, that's really brave and noble, like you said, and very loyal of Gurchin thing to do, to realize, obviously he's learned that the Skeksis are actually really bad people, and the word needs to get out there, so he puts himself in more danger to allow Rian to escape so that the truth can be out there.
Yeah, I felt the same way too. And also, I noticed two obvious symbols. One being the light that Rian runs to when the sun was setting, which is a symbol for hope and also clarity. And then when he jumps, he falls into the water, which is a symbol for change.
That makes a lot of sense to me now that you mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned that and point that out, because again, this series to me, and even in the original movie, yes, you are put in a dark setting, but there's so much in there that is telling you, if you look in the right places, that there is hope, and that you can always have hope, and there is a chance for change to make things better. So I'm glad you pointed that. That's not something I thought of, so I'm glad that you mentioned it here. But yeah, that's really good. So that's where that scene ends, and Gurchin says that they're never going to catch Rian now, and the Chamberlain. We see that Chamberlain has a piece of Rian's torn clothing, and he's kind of sniffing it, and so he's like, "Oh, we'll see." But we go back to a scene. We are back with Deet and Hup, and we see them. They're traveling, and we just see that they start to split away from each other, and we see Deet kind of go, "Hup, where are you going?" And Hup's like, "Oh, well, Harar's this way," and she's like, "No, I'm told I was supposed to follow the brightest star." And Hup points out that she's actually been following a moon, and that there's stars over this other direction. So it just kind of shows that, Deet Deet has never, again, just pointing out that Deet's never been above ground. She doesn't really know what she's looking for. She's just really inexperienced in this world, and that's going to be, cause a lot of, troubles for her.
And I thought the same too. And that, of course, the Groton being, the Gelfling that live underground, maybe her generation doesn't really know much about, stars or anything else above ground. And they're just more focused on what's underground.
Yeah, it seems so. I mean, because we know that obviously the Madra Argot talked about it and mentioned it, so she must know, and she has probably been above ground at some point. But we do know from the lore that the Grotons have been underground for a long time. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like, even though she has parents and there's other Grotons that live in the caves there's probably not a whole lot of other Grotons down there that would have been able to teach her and let her know what's above ground. But another little cute thing that I liked here was that Deet gave Hup a little smooch for his help, and he got all giddy. So I thought that was funny. Next up, we go back to a scene. We're back at Harar at the capital, and we see Almadra. She is scolding Brea, obviously, for it has turned out that yes, Elder Kadia's memories have been completely erased. He can't remember anything at all, so she's in trouble for this. We see her oldest sister, Celadon. She is the next in line to become Almadra. And she is there because she's kind of, she's next in line to be Almadra, so she's learning from her mother. And she even suggests and scolds Brea as well. And she suggests that Brea should go to the Order of Lesser Service. And, her mother reveals that she knows that Brea also took the necklace that the Skeksis gave to her and gave it back to the farmers. And so she agrees that Brea is going to report to the Order of Lesser Service the first thing in the morning. Now, for me, out of this scene, I was just like feeling so bad for Brea because she's just searching for answers, but just because of the way things are, again, people are not wanting to hear the answers or not letting her seek the answers. She even tells her mom, like, I can't go to the Order of Lesser Service. There's something I have to do, but they don't care. They're going to punish her. And we also kind of see the fact that maybe she's not that close with her oldest sister either, because she's very ready and willing to punish her sister.
Which I know from having many sisters. I have 2 sisters myself, both older than me. I think there's some, I don't know, they get some kind of joy out of the other one getting punished for something. So that could be it too.
Yes, that could be it. Yeah, I suppose that could be a thing, and you would know because you are the youngest out of your sisters as well. So I would have to defer to you on that. You would know better than me since I'm the oldest of 2 and I have a younger sister. So that makes sense actually. We also so we get to another scene where we see the Collector and the Skull Keeper. They're getting back to the Castle of Crystal, and of course the Captain Rian's father was the one that was escorting them. So when he gets back to the Castle of Crystal here, this is where he learns himself about the news of Rian and how everybody there is saying that Rian murdered Mira. And then that's a very quick little scene here. So we move our way over to the throne room where all the Skeksis are meeting, and the Emperor says the scientists blames the Chamberlain for Rian getting away. And Chamberlain, at first, he's agreeing, but that's because he's about to do some more master manipulating here, where he says, yes, it is his fault because he should have been there sooner to stop the Gelfling, because they were able to get into the scientist lab and steal it. And so he turns it back around on the scientist, saying, it's really the scientist's fault because he knocked the He knocked the essence bottle out of my hand, and then we chased them, and I even caught Gurchin and got stabbed. But even though I got stabbed, I was still able to hold on to him and keep him captured. But the scientist allowed Rian to escape. He couldn't capture and let him go. So the Emperor is like, well, yeah, that checks out to me. That makes sense. You caught Gurchin, so you must have done your job. And the scientist obviously messed up here, so he agrees to that. It must be the scientist's fault here. So again, we see more master manipulation from the Chamberlain.
Every time I see the Skeksis, it's especially when they have their meetings, it's just so creepy. And I'm trying not to use the word creepy so much, but it's just the way I feel about them.
Well, no, makes sense. They are very creepy. And that's what, and even when I was a kid, when I was watching the movie, it was like they were very creepy, but at the same time, that's what attracted me to this, just because it was so much different from anything else I was watching. That's what I liked about it.
And I also thought it was awful that they ended up just turning on the scientist who, wasn't trying to take the essence for himself or anything. It was the Chamberlain who was trying to steal it, but, he got the scientist in trouble for it anyways.
Yep. You do feel a little bit bad for him here, and that is just because the Chamberlain is, like we said, he's a master manipulator. But yeah, so they decide that they're going to punish him, and not only did the Chamberlain turn this around on making it so that it was the scientist's fault, but he even suggests the punishment for the scientist, and he suggests that they should use a peeper beetle, and everybody gets all excited, and they haven't used the peeper beetle for a long time. So later on, we're going to see what the peeper beetle is, but right here at this point, we see Rian's father. He enters the chamber and he requests to speak with them, and he begs for mercy for Rian. And they say, they say, what, we have Gurchin. Nobody else, no other Gelflings have talked to Gurchin yet. They're keeping him locked away. So they just tell Rian's father, Gurchin already confessed to everything that happened, and they plant the seed in his head, like, yep, it's for sure. Like, we have somebody here who says that they witnessed it, and Rian for sure did it, and we know that that's obviously not the case, and Gurchin wouldn't say those things, but because they hold all the power, they're able to just say this, and he's gonna believe it. Now, so he says he's gonna go after. He says, let me go after Rian, let me get him. And let me dream fast with him, and then automatically this guy's like, nope, can't do that. You can't do that because you know what? In fact, Rian is sick, and he's got a sickness. So if you dream fast with him, it's going to spread. So again, we see the Chamberlain being very masterful here, and again, they get him to not only agree to not seek any answers, they get him to agree to go after his son and this treasure he stole, but they also convince him that yes, indeed, even though Rian has, the Captain Rian's father has not even seen Rian for himself yet, he's already agreeing, saying, okay, yeah, you know what, he must be sick. That's what the problem is. He's sick, so let me go get him. They've already convinced him, and he hasn't even heard Rian's side yet. So, again, we see the master manipulating there. What were you thinking while you were watching this scene?
Well, I thought, of course, the captain, his love for his son, that he wanted to go and get him himself and try to, I guess, since he learned of the sickness, he wanted to try to save him, because I think the Skeksis told him that he could be saved by the crystal, or he assumed that his son could be saved by the crystal. So from, of course, in the first episode, you saw more of his tough love, him being hard on his son, and now he's like, I need to go get him and, save him. And also, I thought that I lost my train of thought. There was something else I wanted to say, but now I can't remember it. So
okay, well, I will agree with you here that you're right in pointing out that we saw more of the tough love in in the first episode, and now in this episode we do see him like he is a loving father. Yes, he's tough on his son because he wants the best for him, but we do see ultimately he wants the best for his son, and he is willing to go out and try to save him. I just think that's why I think it's even more tragic and sad that the Skeksis are able to convince him, without him even finding out for himself. He's already convinced, like, okay, yes, something's wrong with him. He's got a sickness, and he's not only he's convinced, he's got sickness, but also the Skeksis have the power to heal him. So he's like not hearing. He doesn't have a chance to hear from his son yet. He just believes, okay, the Skeksis are automatically right. They have the answers, and in fact, they could even heal my son. But of course, we know. As after the captain leaves here, the Skeksis, of course, they're gonna plan on letting him capture his son, bring his son back with the bottle of essence, and then they're gonna drain both of them. And then we go back to the scene where we see Agra. She is studying her books in the orrery. She's trying to find out answers why she has been awoken and why Thra called out to her, but she can't find the reason why. So she thinks about, maybe I'll go ask the mystics. But so she decides, that would take too long. And further in the series, we're going to find out why she would think that would take too long. But we won't cover that here because we don't want to get too far into spoilers. We'll just go for this episode. But later on, we'll see why she thinks that. So she decides just to go directly to the Skeksis. Yeah, so again, so what did you think about this little scene here with Agra? Again, anytime I see Agra on screen, I'm happy because I love Agra. But when I see her here, she's in a panic. I kind of feel like, oh yep, however many years goes, hundreds of years ago, or however long it's been that she's been projecting herself across the universe, she definitely made a mistake in leaving the Crystal of Truth with the Skeksis, and she's really feeling it now.
Yeah, well, I noticed like when she was leaving, she looked back at the Ori. I don't know if that's because she wishes she could go back and just further look into the stars and have this not all happening, or she kind of like, what's up with this Ori? Like thinking, is there something up with this Ori? Is this what caused this, Thra to start dying?
Yeah, for me, when I see her looking at it, I think it's a thing of longing for her, because I think she does, she's obviously she's got these beings. We know that the Skeksis are beings from, they're alien being to this planet of Thra, and Agra herself is the embodiment of Thra, so she's never left Thra, so she must be very intrigued of, there's this whole universe out there, and she would love to see it. So I think for her, looking back at the Ori there, it's a thing of longing for her, being like, oh, I wish I was among the stars looking, and because she mentioned when she first woke up that even though she's been, however long she's been away on the journey that she just woke up from, it's still, even though she was gone for that long, it wasn't enough to see the universe.
Yeah.
So, we see her leave, and she's on her way to go see the Skeksis. And the next scene, we are back at the Castle of Crystal with the Skeksis, and the ritual master is there. He's getting the scientist ready for what they are about to do. They put this big cage around the scientist's head, and the ritual master brings out this bottle. We see like this little like bug beetle thing in there doing, scurrying around. They connect it to the little cage. This peeper beetle runs in the cage, scurries all around the scientist's head, forces his eyelids open, and then we end the episode with the munching sound of the peeper beetle eating the scientist's eye.
That was, for me, really gross, especially with the eyes. Like I'm really sensitive when it comes to eyes.
Yes, especially with the way they did the audio effects here. Yeah, it definitely sounded really gross. But this was really cool scene. If you're a movie watcher, this is going to give a lot of, it's a cool callback for you as well. If you've seen the movie, you go, oh, that's how the scientist has the eye that he has in the movie. Obviously, they did this here they fed his eye to a peeper beetle. So that's a really cool tie in there. I like the way they came about that. It's just not some, now again, that's why I'm loving watching the series, because there's things they don't make it so like this could be, if you watch this on its own, there doesn't have to be a movie that it connects to make it something worth watching. You could just watch this as a standalone series and watch this and go, oh wow, that's creepy, that's weird. But for me, as a movie watcher, as a kid, it just makes it even better. Like, oh wow, that's how they're saying that's the origin of how he got his eye in the movie. So I think that's just a really cool way of them doing that, and putting even more, lore in the world here. Okay, well, nothing to say there. So yeah, that was the way that we ended the episode. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was really good. Overall, for me, I'm going to give a rating for this episode. So for episode 1, like I said, it bounced around a lot. I think we're still getting that a little bit here in episode 2, because there's still, instead of this being a movie now, we're in a series. So they're going to be setting up the world. Normally, like a lot of good shows, it takes them a good couple of episodes to really set everything up. So I think we're still doing a lot of setup here. You're not getting any advancement into getting answers. You're just getting more questions. But I think we get a little bit more deeper into the questions here, which I really liked about this episode. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and I'll give episode 2 a 10 out of 10 crystal shards. What would you give this?
I would give it a 10 out of 10 as well.
All right, so that's 2 10 out of 10s for you. So yeah, so far really good. But yeah, so that's the review, guys. Thank you for checking out the episode. I want to remind you again to go join the Discord. It's the Gelfling Gathering now. Go join that. Make sure that you go ahead and follow us on Twitter. It's at Dark Crystal Cast. That way, again, I have the link for the Discord tweeted out there. It's a permanent link, so you just click on that and you'll be able to join instantly. Also, remember, when this does go live on Apple Podcasts, whenever it does, to leave a 5-star rating and a written review for a shout out on the show. And leaving those ratings, even if you're right now, if you are listening on another platform, right now we're on Anchor and Spotify. If you're listening on either of those, if they have a rating system or that thumbs up system, go ahead and do that as well, because it does help. But we're just going to do the shout outs once this goes up on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. That's where we'll be doing the shout outs. So once that goes live, you'll know. We'll make an announcement here. Again, this is like the 4th podcast I've ever done. I got the message back saying that it takes 7 to 10 days to approve a podcast. I've always had the 3 previous podcasts I've done before be approved in 24 hours. So it's amazing me that this has already been over 7 days and it's not up on Apple Podcasts yet, but hopefully we'll do that soon, so you can leave that 5-star rating and review once it is up there as well. Whatever platform you're listening on, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the episodes, because again, we're just going to put the episodes out every couple of days. You're not going to want to miss it. It's not like my other show that I do every day that is just automatically show up there. So subscribe so you don't miss it, in case our schedules get thrown off a little bit or anything. But yeah, so that is the end, guys. Thank you for listening. Until next time, remember that you have the crystal of truth.
Make your world in its light.
Bye.
Bye.